Hi, welcome to this episode of The Fuse Show. I have Sandeep Kaul with us. He is the founder and CEO of Hipla Technologies, a cloud-native property technology company offering solutions for hybrid offices, smart facilities, and EHS management. He is a software engineer and an MBA from the Asian Institute of Management, and he currently lives in Singapore. Sandeep, it's good to have you. How are you doing this evening?
Hi, Bud. Good to be here. Thank you. I'm doing very well.
Good, good. Let's just start off with a 30,000 foot view of Hipla. Just tell me what it is and what you guys do.
So Hipla is a technology company focusing on property management. What we do is we give software for companies to manage their workplaces, make their buildings and their offices much more smarter, where the occupants of these buildings and offices can have fun and a very good experience. So we provide technology for that.
Very good, very good. So I was reading on your. Let me get back to it here. Sorry, on your LinkedIn here that you want to reach 1 billion people to have safer and better offices. How close are you to that goal?
We're just starting out, and we are a startup. We have ventured into the space. We have that vision, and we're just starting out. So I would say we're in the right direction, but there's still a lot of room to grow and actually achieve that target.
Okay, and I think you're starting out pretty good. You are the first member from India and Singapore to be part of the Open Security and Safety Alliance. I think that's a pretty good accomplishment. How do you feel about that?
Thank you, Bud. It took us some time, and we are very happy about it. We are very proud, and our privacy, security is definitely very important. And we spent some time to join the organization, and I feel very happy for the team. Myself, it's a great accomplishment for us.
Yeah, I think it's a very good accomplishment for you.
Thank you.
So, why is this niche so important to you?
You see, as we spend most of our day, at least pre-COVID era, in offices and in the built environment, as we say, buildings, whether these are airports, ferry terminals, stadiums, and our experiences in the built environment matter a lot, and because that's where we spend majority of our lives. So we decided to go after this because purely because of a need. We identified a need, and we thought that a lot of companies were not really doing or not meeting the needs of the customers, and that's how Hipla was, conceptualized and it born, and our customers are liking what we are making for them.
Okay, so we'll kind of, I think, stick around this idea of pre-COVID and now COVID, I think, for a little while here, because you have this facility 360 idea, all the way from parking management, clear to in the building safety, and that was all the way from pre-COVID, and now you've come all the way around to your new ContaTrack idea here, where you can actually do contact tracing for COVID. Now, how and when through this pandemic did that come about, and when did you see that being important, and did you see that, were you able to bring that about during this pandemic?
So you're absolutely right. Contact tracing was introduced to the world right in smack of COVID. Pre-COVID, we never heard about that term. What is contact tracing? At least an average person never knew what contact tracing and social distancing really means, or the extent we need to be careful. So we had technology around mapping and finding people inside buildings, And one of our customers requested and said, if you can find two people inside buildings, can you actually try to figure out how close they are to each other? And our engineers thought yes, and that's how this contact tracing idea was born. And we thought, hey, this is going to be something which a lot of customers would want. And that's how contact tracing as a feature was born. Again, but not to explain and to put things in context, contact tracing was just a feature around how we make our offices more safe and secure. Our complete value proposition lies around everything with an occupant and his experience inside buildings. And then contact tracing was just a module around this.
Very good. So, is this something that you have only done so far in Singapore and India where you're based, and now you're trying to push that out more around the world, or did you start around the world? Where is Hipla mostly located now, and are you being able to push that out more into the world?
So we are Singapore headquartered company. We have customers in Singapore. We have a very large base of customers in India, predominantly because of design. That's where I originally come from. We have a lot of development team there. So we also decided to put sales efforts there, because while we are developing, it's always good to know what the team is selling, and by design it's much easier to do that. So significant customer base is in India. We have customers in Singapore, and now we have started seeing some interest coming from the Western world, as they say. Again, this is a question which we are answering to ourselves, whether we are ready or we want to take a bit more time to finalize things before we actually venture west, or even if we venture west or not, because honestly, India is a humongous market. And there's just so many buildings and there's so much offices. Right now, our sales team is pretty full, I would say, and so it's a good problem to have. And I'm not too sure whether we're going to come to Northern America or the Western or the European markets very soon. Our hands are just completely full with India and Singapore right now.
Well, that's good. That's good. It's good to know. It's good to know yourself. It's good to know your limits, and it's good to not want to hurt yourself, by expanding too fast. So good for you.
Right.
I mean, it's easy. It's easy to say yes. I would love to expand to bigger and better things, but hurt yourself in the process of doing so. So. I mean, that's very good for you for being able to step back and say, you know what, we're not sure that we want to do this yet.
You're right.
Because when you come to the Western states or the Western part of the world, it's a different set of headaches. I mean, it's almost a whole different world when you're talking about, yeah. So, I mean, good for you. I mean, hopefully, I really hope that someday that you can do that. But I applaud you for taking a step back and saying, hey, we may not be ready yet. That's very smart. So I'm proud of you. Good job.
Thank you.
So I also want to say, or kind of delve into this part where it says you're talking to property managers, because on your website it's you're talking about facilities and businesses, but you've also helped many property managers figure out how to deal with this pandemic. Tell me a little more about that.
So, that's a very good question, Bud. And, really office admin managers, facility managers are really the new heroes of, post-pandemic world, because they are single-handedly responsible of ensuring that the workforce can somehow, in whatever shape and form we want, whether hybrid or, partially hybrid, fully remote. But anyone who wants to go back to office, the admin and the facility managers are ensuring that, and they are using technology. So when pandemic started hitting, and somewhere in the middle, when office, they decided, hey, it's the time to welcome our workforce back. in some shape and form, they started approaching us and they said, can we build technology and solutions around ensuring a smooth transition between being at home always to being in offices on some days and then slowly transitioning to being at home some days. I hope you get what I'm trying to say. And so
Yeah.
we help them build that technology, whether it is a mobile application for requesting desks and office spaces, or ensuring that their vaccination statuses are known to the organizations they are going to, and things around very very simple things around having a contactless experience in the office. So that's what we did, and that's how we helped companies to open up and get their workforce back wherever they wanted to.
Okay. So I was not sure if that meant when I was looking at property management. I wasn't sure if that was speaking for like property owners, like owners of, say, like apartment complexes or stores or something like that. So it's still speaking around like facilities managers,
You're right.
but the properties around that. Okay.
You're right. We do only commercial. A company which focuses only on commercial real estate. These are offices, a bit about warehouses and factories, but we don't do anything with residential complexes. We don't do anything with passenger terminals as of yet. So we are extremely focused on two things. One is the market we are servicing, which is Singapore and India, and the segment we are servicing, which is the commercial real estate.
Okay. Very, very good. All right. So let's transition a little bit away from what Hipla does and more into how you became the CEO and kind of delve into what makes you tick. When did you become interested in all of this technology? And were you very young when you became interested in this technology? What drove you into this line of work, and why did you become interested in this? Was it something from a young age? Were you older when this happened? Why did you go to school to do this? What happened?
You know, really, there's not a very, very interesting set, but I can tell you, I was always investing my own capital in startups. I always like to be associated with startups. I really like the agility and the thought process they brought, but I was always having a ringside view. I was never participating in the game, as they say, and I had a good corporate career. I was working in Singapore for over a decade, and and that's when I decided that I cannot always have a ringside view. I cannot be a partner, just a guy sitting on the stadium seats. I need to be inside the game. And then I started figuring out around what. And very luckily for me, I was in Singapore, and in Singapore, the real estate is extremely precious. We're a very landlocked country. We're an island nation, and the real estate is extremely precious. And I was looking at how I can bring efficiency around real estate. And then, the ideas around IoT sensors and things around that was born, and, managing this. And that's when I decided to do Hipla.
Very good. So you were tired of watching. You're a doer, not a watcher.
Yeah, I think to be, in very realistic sense, I think I had, been in the corporate world long enough to definitely secure myself in terms of a bit of capital, because I always knew that I need to be. This is a little bit of a longish game, right? You need to be in the game for long term. So I had secured some capital, and then I thought, okay, as you rightly said, I wanted to be a doer than a watcher. So
Yeah.
here I am.
So you said you've been part of several startups, and
As an
so
investor.
are you kind of a serial entrepreneur? Is
No,
that how you would? No,
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 I'm not.
not
I've
not
just
that.
been
You just
invested.
Oh, okay. I got you. I got you.
So I used to put,
So
whether it's a friend or someone, I would just put in some capital and, try to be as close as possible, but never had the real fun. And as they say, the, adrenaline, you know, so
gotcha.
that's when I,
I understand. I understand now. Okay.
Mhm.
So with Hipla pre-COVID, were you 100% in office? Is that how you were set up?
Hipla is actually a COVID company in the sense we started in February 2020, and that was just early COVID. And we had just started and COVID happened. So some of my team I've not even met till now. Borders closed, and I've never seen them face to face. And so we were in office. You're right, and then we are all remote, and now we are seeing whether we want to go back or not. It's a big question, a big debate with pros and
Gotcha.
cons.
So okay. So when I see that you have 27 employees on LinkedIn,
You're right.
is that about your company size there?
You're right. Absolutely correct. We are around 27 people.
Well, good for you. Good for you. So when you go to set up, say like your content track, um, or any of your facility 360, any of that, in an office setting, uh, how does that work? How do you do that? Do you send a team in there to set that up? Is that mostly a remote setup? I noticed that you use their closed caption televisions to be able to set most of this stuff up. So is it mostly a remote setup, or do you have to send a team in to be able to do that? And how do the logistics work on that?
It's a mix of both, to be honest. But I mean to say, at some places, the customer demands or requests, support to be provided. That means they want everything to be done by the company, and that's when we would send our own engineers. It's a soft touch approach. I mean to say, we really don't have to install a lot of stuff. It's a bit about sensors and controllers, not much. But quite a lot of times our customers are quite DIY. That means they understand, and we can remotely tell them what they need to do, and we have tutorials which they can watch, and then they DIY. We are primarily a software company, so then we just take them through the journey with us, and they are more than happy to capture that value for themselves. That means they don't have to pay for support and installation, and they do it themselves.
Oh, very good, very good. Okay, so kind of transitioning back. So you started right at the beginning of COVID.
You're right.
COVID hits
You're
when you
right.
start up.
You're right.
What does that do to you mentally? Does that scare you? Like, I mean,
Yes,
that had to have been a little bit scary.
you're right.
And how do you work that through in your head? Like, I just start this company. I'm finally able to start doing like we said just a few minutes ago, right? I'm finally able to start doing. I'm finally able to get off the investor part. I'm finally able to start my own company. I'm finally able to go. And COVID hits. Like, what is going through your head?
That was, to be honest, it wasn't a great feeling. I was telling my partner that, my spouse, hey, I don't know, man, I've just done this, and, it's going on in the head. I had a small team, around, we were 7 or 8 of us that time, and, we were figuring out what to do. And uh, honestly, what helped me a lot is I spoke to many of my friends who are entrepreneurs, like shows like yours, where they're entrepreneurs who talk about their journeys. And I spoke a lot to them, and I realized that probably while this is a difficult period, but this will get, we're going to come overcome this, because they told me about their stories, and it was very inspirational in a very uncommon way. And that's what got my
Yeah.
head completely back aligned. That, and I said, and but you won't realize COVID actually accelerated our growth. we were just in the second or third month, and everyone started talking about digital offices, hybrid solutions, the new normal, importance of contactless, and that's what we were going to do. And so we started signing up some pretty large logos, and in a normal scenario, I wouldn't have been able to get those logos at all because they were pressed for a solution. And there I was, and I was saying, hey, hey, here's the solution, and that's what happened.
Yeah, it's this pandemic has been highly, highly unfortunate for so
Yeah,
many people, right? Like
I know.
it's a mixed bag, right?
Yeah,
There's been lots of people lost their life. There's been lots of people that have been adversely affected,
right,
but it's for our industry, it's been really good. Like it's hard to say that it's been a good thing for some reasons, but it really has. So I mean, it's really been a mixed bag. Like
right.
for us, for our company, it's helped us. Like it's accelerated our growth as well. So I understand what you're saying, and it's hard to say that COVID's been good, but in some ways it has. In a lot of ways it hasn't. So I get what you're saying,
Yeah,
and
yeah,
and
I'm
I
sad.
understand your hesitancy to say it's been a good thing, but I get you, man. I get you. I understand what you're saying. So
No, you're right.
um,
You're right. I mean to say,
it's
it's people lost. I lost. We lost people in our own family, and it was bad, and
yeah,
there were definitely those emotional, turmoils, as they say, happening, and at the same time we see businesses growing, and it is a very tiring time. Most importantly, even for us, because the borders are not so porous, we can't travel freely. I can't meet my team, and it's a bit of. But I know what you're saying, but not. We wish this growth would have come in some other way, and not because of people losing their lives. But I don't think there is any other way to say that. Yes, somehow it accelerated adoption of digital
yeah,
technology.
yeah. It has, and in some way, at the end of this, it's in for our niche and the way that we do business, it's going to keep accelerating that, I believe, because there's people are not going to go back to work the same way
Right,
when I mean, our new normal, if you want to say it that way, is the way that we do business now. There's going
right,
to be a lot of people that don't go back to the office. There's going to be a
right,
lot more people that do remote work. There's going to be a
right,
lot of people that that are going to need HIPLA, that are going to need what we do, that are going to need this kind of work, for years and years and years to come. So
right,
you know, I mean,
right.
you came in at a really hard, rough time. You battled through it. You got your head right, and I think that I think you came in at a really good time.
Yeah, good of
As
time.
hard as that is to say, you
Right,
know.
right. You're
So
absolutely right, Bud, and you're absolutely right. And I got a lot of help from good people like yourselves, and people who are doing a fantastic job with guiding entrepreneurs. And it's not, no matter how experienced I was in my corporate life, but this entrepreneurship and startups are very different. They just don't follow the regular rules. And so I got a
yeah,
lot of help. I was very fortunate. Very good people guided me, and I think we're on a good solid standing now.
yeah, I think so too. I think so too. Um, so let's see. What's your biggest pain point? Um, was it the COVID point, or in this whole journey in your company? What was your biggest pain point? Um,
um,
to get to where you are so far.
I'll answer this very candidly and honestly. I think our biggest pain point is finding good talent to come and share our vision and join us, because we're a new company. It's not that we get a lot of inbound requests from the best talent in the world. So for us, it's one of the largest or one of the biggest pain points to attract talent, good talent who really wants to, be associated there's only limited opportunity to pitch your business to people and your teammates, right? And team members, so-called, and potential talent. So that's our biggest challenge. That continues to be our biggest challenge. And we just keep looking for good people, and it takes a bit of time to find them, and that's the single largest pain point, which remains and was till now. But I think we are breaking that, and now we're getting very good referrals, but it's going to continue that way, I think.
That's a very good point. I think in any business, from restaurants to technology, is finding good people.
Yeah.
So the nice thing about what we do, and especially if you work remote, like your pool of people gets much bigger. Now,
Right.
is that the case for you? Do you look all over everywhere? Or since you're in Singapore and India mostly, is that where you consolidate your searches? Do you try and consolidate your searches for good people within Singapore and India? Or do you stretch out all over everywhere? Do you go worldwide for your searches for people?
So, but it's, the preference is always to have them in the geography where you are, because of the time difference and, collaboration, and especially for the size of team we have, which is more than 10. So I have a theory around what will be remote completely and what will not, and I will tell you that in some time. So we start with usually the geographies we are, that would be India and Singapore, and at least Southeast Asia, so that the time zone remains the same. But if we can't find talent, with everything matching, then we'll just keep enlarging the circle till we get the right colleague to share our vision and work with us. It's that's what we do.
All right. Very good. So you're the sole CEO and founder, correct?
Yes.
So how do you deal with your work-life balance, your work-home life balance, with starting this at the beginning of COVID and trying to make this thing work? I know when I went from working, I used to work in the oil field, and I came over to technology,
Yeah.
and
Right.
and that was an absolute shock to me, right?
Correct.
So I came over, and I would work, and come home, and I left work at work, and then I came to work on my computer, and for some reason, I could never leave my computer. I would go downstairs, and then work would be on my phone, and my wife was like, "You have got to stop working," and that was a big shock for me. Like, for some reason, I'm like, I cannot stop working.
You're right.
So how did you, or how are you dealing with your work-life balance? Is that something that you're still dealing with? Is how do you deal with that, owning the company? And I mean, this is a big deal company. You're doing something that's really, really great. How do you deal with your work-life balance?
So it goes in phases. When we started, honestly, it wasn't that great, because you're trying to, it's almost like raising a child, right? It takes a bit of more time when it is young and just born. But slowly, you get good people, your team becomes, come and they understand, and, so slowly you start getting a bit of more time. And that's, honestly, that's how it happened. It happened in a very progressive way, where for the start part of the night, as you said, your wife kept telling you to not work, and, it's no different, and, my wife would tell me, hey, why don't you take a bit of time off? But slowly, I started getting, my team's really great, honestly, and, they take a lot of burden away, in the sense of, and it just gets divided. And so that's how, I started getting a bit more time, and then I started planning a bit too. I have a very young child, so I had to think of them as two young children, so called it, which is, one is Hipla, and then I have my own child, and I started, hey, if I'm going to give 20, 10 hours or 15 hours to Hipla, I need to allocate some time to my child too. And honestly, I started marking that. So I put up one calendar which repeats every day, and I said, okay, this time I'm not going to do anything but spend time with my kid. And I just chose a slot which was the most convenient. It was early mornings for me, and it just worked nice. And I spend time. Weekends I take off. I don't like to do a lot of stuff. It's good for my mental brain to come back. I
Yeah,
just spend time
yeah,
with
for
my
sure it is.
family, chill with my friends.
Yeah,
I
good
don't
for
think it's
you.
any different from any one of us. Everyone does the same, I would believe.
Yeah, well, not everyone does the same,
What did
especially over
you do?
here,
What did you
in
do?
America.
Okay.
Well, it's still something that I had to have a very long talk with my wife. Um, and I just had to figure out how, when she was talking, my first step was to put down my phone.
That's
And that's where I had to start. Was I and it's kind of embarrassing that I didn't even realize that when she was talking, I wasn't even putting down my phone. You
I
know,
don't.
so I had to start there, and just when she was talking, I had to realize that she was talking, and I had to put down my phone. So that started that way, and then it morphed into, when my workday was done, I actually had to shut down my computer and close it and walk away.
You're right.
You know, and so I'm actually still working on it, and I guess I'm realizing that I'm more of a workaholic than I thought I was than I thought I was. So it's still a work in progress, but um, the weekends, I'm really trying to make
Yeah,
the weekends.
you're right.
So it's kind of hard when I'm going from working away to working from home. It's a hard thing. So
You're right. You're right.
that's why I'm asking that. I'm kind of asking that question for a for a selfish reason, trying to figure out how to get some help, I guess.
You need to make time for it, and I told you, slowly it'll get better. All I can say, you'll get more and more time. Once you keep repeating the same things, you're going to get efficient. You'll start finding time, and and it's needed. But honestly, it's needed. We just, or you or me or anyone, we just can't keep going at it 24/7. Um, I don't know. I just don't personally subscribe to that, and I don't even, we all work very hard, but we need a bit of time also, not to do anything.
Yeah, yeah. So what do you feel makes you a good leader?
I'm constantly learning. I was never in this position. One thing I've realized is that leadership is not instinctive. It doesn't come
Right.
naturally at all. Uh, it we have so many biases in our lives that I didn't know I had. And so it takes a bit of scientific approach. You need to keep going back to your mentors, your friends, and tell them real situations, and you realize that it's not instinctive at all.
Yeah. Yeah. I think there's some people that have just a charisma that you want to follow,
Yeah,
but the people that really know how to lead, I think you're right. Like they do a lot of studying, and
right.
they just know. I mean, they've done it before, and they've made mistakes, and they've learned from those mistakes,
Right.
or they've had experience, and they've watched other people, and they've learned how to do it.
I think so.
Um,
I
but yeah,
think
I
so.
think you're right. Like they've learned over many years, and they've made mistakes, and then they've read and read and read, and they've learned and learned and learned. Yeah.
I kind of agree to that. At least for me, that's how it is. I'm learning. I'm trying to ask people around. And mostly, in a new age startup like ours, it's less about leadership. It's more about, collectively, each and everyone is so brilliant. And especially, when I came from, I don't say that corporate doesn't have brilliant people. When I was in my corporate life, yes, there are brilliant people there too. But in startup, just by design, the way things happen, everyone is thinking 2x of what they would have otherwise done. And when you are in that kind of an environment, you have, like an 18-year-old young, person who's 20 times smarter than you are, that of course, leadership, the definition, everything changes, right? And you're trying to follow and learn and adapt and move. It's more about cohesion than actually leading.
Right. So here's a question. Like our our company, we give our people lots of autonomy to do their work. How do you go about that? Like your company has a lot of oversight for the companies that you do business with, your clients, right?
Yes.
You use their CCTV to have a lot of oversight for their businesses. How do you deal with your employees? Do you give them autonomy to do their work? Um, how does that work with you guys?
So definitely there's autonomy to do the primary job, but not at a compromise of, not looking at the SOPs around safety and security, especially in the
Sure.
environment we are, because we are dealing with assets, buildings, and stuff like that. So definitely an autonomy is there, but I don't think, by not only by the nature of work we are in, but generally we believe in a bit of autonomy coming with a bit of a trust build up, where you are working with someone for a bit of more time, and that's when more autonomy is there. And versus someone who's extremely new. And I don't know, I mean to say that's just probably an Asian way, I would say. But it's very common to have a bit more, more autonomy if you've been in the system for a little bit longer than you're
Absolutely.
completely new. And I think it also works well because, when you're completely new, if you've, you don't know who your colleagues are, you don't know what to do, you're so lost. So you want to be a bit more, that's what they call hand holding. So we like to hold hand
Yeah.
for some time. And
Well, you're dealing with a lot of security and health, and I mean, I
yeah.
think that makes a lot of sense.
Yeah,
Yeah.
so so that anyways, anything to do with client data, there's absolutely no autonomy for anyone. These are governed by processes and SOPs, whether a chief data officer is looking at, and, there's a formulated strategy. Even as a CEO, I can't do anything about that. There's a way how they handle that
Oh,
data, right? Yeah, of course, because, there's you need to be absolutely mindful that this is very sensitive, and we manage sensitive things on behalf of our customers, and they are large conglomerates, so you need to be even more careful. But purely from a functioning point of view, when you're at a job, right? We believe a bit of hand holding for new people, and then slowly, they take more autonomy in how they do things. It's also a function of size, but, and that again goes back to my theory on, what will be remote and what will not be remote. And I think like this. I think anything which is extremely small, less than 10 people so far, 10 employees, can do remote. They may go completely remote. Anything which is more than 500 people, roughly, they can be remote because there's just so much, to experiment. But anywhere between 25 people to less than 200, they cannot be completely remote, because that's the time when they need the most collaboration. They want to be together. They want to brainstorm. They want to whiteboard. They want to see this, fire in the eye and stuff like that, and fist bump, actually give high fives to each other. And so I think around 25 to 200 kind of people, they would be more geared towards going back to office, and anything with more than 200, 250, I think they may come into a hybrid approach. Below 10, they can be completely remote. That's what my thought is.
Oh, I like that. I've never actually thought of it that way, but that actually kind of makes a lot of sense. I like that. I do miss high fives and fist bumps. I am I'm a very physical person, that and I do miss that.
It's evolution.
Um,
We have been
yeah,
designed that way. We have been designed to be more social, and that's collectively
oh
why
yeah,
human race has been so successful. And it's genetics, and I think we're going to see that. We did a survey, and I recent 67% of people want to go back to office in some shape or form,
hmm
like a remote or a hybrid. They don't want completely remote. I think we're going to miss out a lot on complete remote. It has brought in a lot of advantages, but I don't think we'll have, for larger organizations than 25 people, I don't think it can be completely remote. It can be, but not for at least our industry.
yeah. My my preference would be 2 or 3 days in office,
You're right.
and then the other 2 or 3 days remote.
You're
I
right.
do like being at home, but man, I am a people person, and I miss people for
You're
sure.
right. A lot of
Yeah,
us do. A lot of
yeah,
us do. And, just imagine if you have 500 people, who's coming in, who's not coming in. This kind of thing needs technology to be managed, and that's where Hipla steps in. We help employ companies manage this, who gets access, who doesn't get access, on what days, what kind of stuff. And, we bring intelligence on top of it, analytics on top of it.
yeah, yeah. Do you have do you have any recent regrets about anything? Do you have any recent regrets about starting Hipla, or anything that's happened, or even a little bit before that? Do you have anything that you regret
Many,
with this?
many
Many.
regrets.
I mean, you don't have to go into all that,
Yeah,
but
I think one of that would be not starting Hipla a little bit earlier. I think I would
sure.
have loved to start it a bit more earlier. That's on the professional point of view. I don't think I learned and I paid a lot of attention to things which I could have. I was just a bit too confident, I would say, about things, and which now I discover I should have spent a bit more time to learn. And so there are many regrets around that professionally. Personally, I'm sure every one of us has many regrets.
Well, sure, sure. I mean, personally, everybody has regrets, right? Whether they want to say it or not. But
Yeah.
yeah,
But I told you professionally,
what
I'm
did
really
yeah?
good. Sorry.
What advice would you give to founders that are soon to be founders, or brand new founders that are going to be watching this?
One thing I can tell you is, guys, talk to a lot, guys or whoever, guys, it's just anyone who's being a founder, starting, talk to people. There's so much to learn from them. It's funny we ignore that, and just talk to
hmm
people, fellow entrepreneurs, listen to them. There's just so much of wealth of information and things which you can actually prevent from doing it, learning from them. Just do that. That's my simple advice slash request. Talk to people. You're going to learn a lot from that.
Yeah, and I found that founders, uh, from almost any niche are more than willing to talk to other founders.
Yes,
I mean,
100%.
they're entrepreneurs are a different breed, and they want entrepreneurs to succeed.
You're right.
So yeah,
Absolutely correct.
I very much second that. If you want to be a
Absolutely.
founder of a company, find other founders and talk to them. They're more
Yeah.
than willing to tell you what they've done in the past that has worked, that hasn't worked, and I mean, way more often than not,
Yeah. And
they're
they
willing to help.
you're right, and they are willing to give
Yeah.
you a chance. one of our largest accounts came because a founder just said, "Hey, you guys are a startup and we love startups." That was
Yeah.
one of the largest tickets we had, and that was fantastic.
Yeah.
So there's just so much help available.
Yeah. Great. Well, it's probably should go ahead and wrap this thing up. So go ahead and tell our viewers we'll have all your information on the landing page, but just go ahead and tell everybody what is the best way to get in touch with you.
So I'm pretty, hi everyone, I'm pretty active on LinkedIn and I try to reply to every message or text. Otherwise, on our website, www.hipla.io, HIPLA.io, there's a feedback/request form. It does come to me, and I definitely look at that. Otherwise, my email is there. But LinkedIn is the easiest way to reach to me.
Very good. Well, Sandeep, this has been a lot of fun. It's been eye-opening, and anybody that's watching this that's in Singapore and India, if you need anything for your facility in that area, contact Hipla. They'll take care of you. Contact tracing, anything for your office needs. Sandeep, thank you very much. I really appreciate you being on the show.
But thanks a
We'll have
lot.
to do this again sometime.
But thanks a lot. I really thank you for giving us an opportunity. I wish you best, and I hope that you find more time for your work-life balance.
Yeah, me too. I will. It's getting much better.
Thank
I
you very
appreciate
much.
that.
Thank you very much.
All
Have a
right,
good
thanks.
one. Bye-bye.
You too. Bye.